Well, hello there. Thank you for checking out this episode of Raised on the Radio. As usual, I am one half of the show. I am Colt Brocado, my good friend Patrick Blair in Zoomland. How are you, sir?
Let's do it. Let's get
Let's do
into it.
All right.
It's a big day.
Controversy.
It's a
It's a
big
big
day.
day.
I don't know.
Are you just making it a big day, or is there something that I don't know about?
Let's make it a big day. Let's start
Okay.
off. Let's start off with something hot here. What do you got?
The First off, I have to say this is different from the Patrick Blair that I'm used to. This sounds like an optimist Patrick Blair. I'm not used to that.
Are you saying that I'm a negative person and I'm a pessimist?
A little bit.
I mean, you do realize we record these shows. We can go back and listen to who the more positive person on the show is. Clearly, it's me.
Are you sure?
Clearly. No, I'm not. No, I'm negative. My wife called me a hater yesterday.
Okay. For a second, I was worried. Wait, did you say your wife called you a hater?
Yeah, she calls me a hater all the time.
Oh, well, it's. I mean, she probably has the right to do that, right? There's probably good reasoning behind it.
I mean, like I said, I like her. I try not to hate on her or the things that she does. But apparently I was, and I didn't know it. And so she called me on it. And that's what you got to do. Like I said, I fully embraced the hater, hypocrite sort of role that I've been called on. Like I said, the key is, do you acknowledge that you do these things? And how do you move forward? So she called me on it. I said, you know what? You're right. I'm not going to apologize. However, I'll stop. Specifically this thing I won't talk about anymore. Other things I'm going to continue to talk about.
For sure.
But she's a very opinionated person. So I gotta choose my battles wisely with her.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how your little one ends up.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, I think he's getting her crazy side.
Uh-oh.
Which is not good for the rest of the world, but we'll see. He's still just a little guy, so.
We actually, so I don't think I've actually said it on the show, but that me and my wife are expecting.
It's about time. Congratulations.
I know, right? And I asked you a while back, just through text message. I said, at what point did you really feel like, did it sink in that you were having a baby?
Yeah.
And you told me when they were pulling it out of my wife. That was your answer.
Yes.
And for the longest time, I was like, man, that's probably going to be me too. Like, because it just doesn't feel like it's a thing that's happening. I mean, I'm sure it does to my wife because she's the one that's been sick. But
right.
Yeah,
it's real. It's real to them. Trust me. Yeah.
It's just odd. It's weird. But we did go yesterday and start looking at like baby stuff to buy, like the car seat and the stroller.
That's still not real. That's just stuff.
The crib and all that kind of stuff. And it's like it still hasn't sunk in 100%, but it's getting there now.
Really? Yeah. Yeah. Well, it will. I mean, when I wasn't being funny when I said that though.
Oh, I know.
For real. Like people would. But see, look, I've never been a person where I was like, I want to have kids, right? When I met my wife, I mean, my wife and I we've been married for close to 2 years now. We've been together for nearly 8. When we met, when we started, okay, we're an item, we're serious about this. And she was asking me, about kids and marriage. And at the time, I was like, no, I'm good. Let's just party. let's just do our thing. And I think that was fun for her at first, but then as time progressed, she'd be like, hey, so by the way, and I was always like, look, if kids happen, they happen. And that's not how it happened. Once we got married, she's like, you're fucking giving me a baby, whether I have to. So, which was fine. Whatever. It was a fun process. So like when she got pregnant, I was always like, okay, you're pregnant. Just let me know what you need. Life for us didn't change. You know what I mean? She still did her thing. I still did my thing. We still did our thing together as a couple. She was just now pregnant. You know what I mean? Like People would say to me like, yeah, your whole world's going to change. I still don't feel that. He's nearly 8 months old. I don't feel it. I
Really?
don't feel it. I feel we're still the same people, but now there's a child. And I hope people don't take that as like I'm a terrible parent. No, I live for this little shit now.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah.
it hasn't changed me. And I didn't want it to. That's the other thing too. I didn't want to change who I was, and she didn't want to change who she was. That's the
Yeah.
agreement that we both like. When it was finally like, all right, we've been married for a while. Do we want to have a kid, or do we want to try? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Because we had the conversation like, we're not going to change. I'm not going to change who I am. You're not going to change who you are. And then once we have a kid here, we're going to love he or she. We're going to take care of them. We're going to provide everything we can, but we're still going to be the same people. And we're going to have fun with them. We're going to be their best friend. And that's ultimately what's happened, which I think is cool.
I wonder if you would be saying these same things if you would have had a girl.
That was going to be the next thing I said.
Just from seeing other people with like other friends of mine who had a baby girl, it's just like the whole thing around it is like you're wrapped around their finger from the first second that they're born. I that's true. Like it's there for sure.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe. Well, look, when we started, she was like, "Well, what do you want?" I said, "Well, I don't have a preference necessarily, but I do know that if I have a boy, he's going to be my best friend, and it's going to be one of those situations where when he gets older, dad's going to be partying with him. He's going to be partying. You know what I mean? Like he's going to be a grown up really early in his life, or be around grown up things, I guess." Which again, some people think that's a problem, but that's kind of the way that I grew up. And look at me, I'm a shining example of what to do with your life. And then I said, if I have a little girl, I'm going to be overly protective probably, but I'm going to embrace the role of, because I was raised by women. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad, all he did was work. He was never home. And my oldest sister is 10 years older than me. So by the time I had a brain, she was gone. She was out of the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there wasn't that bonding. And then for whatever reason, my younger sister, we just didn't have that sort of, and maybe it was because we had a stay-at-home mom. Like I didn't have to take care of her. My mom did everything. It was her job.
Right.
She was a stay-at-home mom. So like there wasn't that sort of role that I had to take on of like protecting her and taking care of her and making sure I didn't do that because my mom was just, that's what she did. So I said, if I have a girl, it's going to be bad. Like I'm going to embrace that role. So I had a boy. So here we are. And he's, like I said, my best friend. Like we just, like my wife was like I'll like sing to him and shit when she's in the kitchen or in another room. And she goes, "This is what you do all day, isn't it?" I go, yeah. I mean, I was like, before you walked in, we were listening to Bone Thugs and Harmony, and we were fucking like, yeah, this is what we do. I don't know. Am I supposed to do something else? Like, what are we supposed to do? She's like, "Do you read to him?" I'm like, yeah. And then we listen to Tupac. Get over it. Like, it's. Are you guys going to find out what you're having?
Yes. So
Okay.
we had a doctor's appointment this last week. That was the doctor's appointment where they say, do you want to do like all the testing and all that kind of stuff? Like the carrier testing, do you want to find out if you carry anything? Do you want to find out if there could be any potential issues with the baby, that kind of stuff. So we went ahead and did it. And, but we went ahead and took off the gender deal off of that. Cause the thing is we get the results from that all to our phone. And my wife wants to know, or wants to find out, the traditional way. She wants to find out through ultrasound at the 20-week mark what we're going to have. So it's, if she would have gotten the results to her phone, the whole baby thing is going to be on there. So it's going to be a long 6.5 weeks, knowing that we still have to wait that long. Like to me, I don't know. It's not that big of a deal. Like whether I find out tomorrow or I find out in 6 weeks, it's not that big of a deal to me, but she wants to be like traditional. So I respect that. I'm okay with it. We're going to find out one way or another. And with this whole testing thing, it gives us a little bit more time. If something were to pop up and there would be issues anywhere, at least it gives us a little more time to, get things in order, or at least get mentally prepared for anything. But
Yeah.
I don't foresee anything. I don't foresee anything happening.
Yeah. I wanted to wait until she gave birth. Like,
Now,
she was like,
fuck off with that.
She's like, you're
That
fucking
is
out of your mind. She's like,
no way.
there's no way. If we have another one, I think we might do that. But we'll see. We'll see.
I could see that a little better, but or with a second one maybe, but not with the first one. There's too much money that is involved before the baby even gets here. For fine. You, no, it's not. Really, it's not.
So like, yeah, it's fine. But yeah, I get it that people do want to find out, and I'll be honest, like when we did find out, which by the way, she went and did it on her own. I wasn't even a part of that process. She just came home one day with gifts. It's like, hey, it's a boy. I was like, oh, thanks.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh,
I said she's a firecracker, man. She'll take your legs out. Don't worry about it. Don't cross her. Which I thought was kind of cool. She wanted to surprise me, which I get it. Like she got me gifts, like me a gift when she found out. Like it wasn't about like, I'm being sneaky. It was like, I want to know, and then I'm going to surprise him and I'm going to give him gifts. We're like gift giving people to we just buy each other gifts for no reason. So it was a perfect opportunity for her to have a reason and surprise me. So at first I was like, you did what? I'm not opening that. Get that gift out of my face. You did what? But either way. Yeah. So, well, I'm excited. We're excited for you. It's going to be fun. It's going to be life-changing, Colt. It's going to change your life.
Unless you're like Patrick Blair and it doesn't really change your life at all. Now there's just a little kid running around your house.
I get it. It's life-changing, but when people, I don't know. Maybe that's me, of course, being the optimist, calling people on their bullshit when they're like, it's going to change your life. Sure it will. Everything changes your life. When you get a new car, it changes your life, right? It's when you buy a new house, it changes your life. Everything changes your life. How do you deal with it? That's the thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you should apply more knowledge to that when you have a child, but whatever. We're doing fine. He's healthy and well. He's on the grid, and I have to keep him alive. And so far, we're doing a good job at that. So,
is that a CK or a Louis CK joke you just made?
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. You're on the
grid, motherfucker. I gotta keep you alive.
You're on the grid, motherfucker. Yeah. Speaking of comedians, what happened to comedians? What happened?
That's a very broad question. What do you mean by that?
When did they stop being comedians? When were they so worried about offending people? What happened?
When people started actually becoming offended.
Remember when we talked about Ari Shaffir?
Okay. But listen, comedians from the get-go were most of them were about, I can't say most. A lot of them were about offending. A lot of the stuff they said was real and offensive. But nobody was offended by what was being said. Like you're George Carlin and you're Richard Pryor and those guys who were like the beginning of what we have now. Those guys said things like they saw things and they didn't care what people really thought about it. And a lot of that stuff you could be offended by if you chose to be, but that wasn't the culture back then. And it wasn't the culture until maybe the past, 5-10 years that people really started giving a shit about what the comedians were saying or taking it personally, what they're saying.
It's not even necessarily about it. People do give a shit about what they're saying. Like I said, when we talked about Ari Shaffir and the joke he made about Kobe, whether you think it's a joke or not, he still gets to say it. If you don't like it, don't listen to him. Don't pay attention. But he shouldn't have had to apologize for that. I don't think it's not in my personal taste to joke about the dead and their dead child and other people's dead children. But he has that right, and he shouldn't have to apologize. And I shouldn't have to apologize for saying he shouldn't have to apologize. That's what it's become. But so I'll take it even a step further. You said Pryor and Carlin. How about Lenny Bruce?
Yeah.
Lenny Bruce would say things on purpose so that he would go to jail, so that he was making a statement for all of those trying to do what he was doing, saying, hey, it was almost like he was martyring himself to make the art more readily available, not only to people who wanted to be comedians, but also for people who were listening to go, hey, it's okay. It's okay if you say something that might be deemed controversial or someone. And I think the main point is like, you're going to say something that someone's not going to like, no matter how positive you think it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone's not going to like it. And you don't have to apologize. You shouldn't have to. That's what freedom of speech is.
Yeah, but there should be thought that comes along with it too, not just immediate, I'm pissed off because you said that, but more like, okay, I 100% agree with what you just said. Or I don't agree with that. No, let's move on with life. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, look, you're right. You're right. But also, when I say what happened to comedians, not only with the apologizing, but when did they just get so soft? When did the lifestyle change to this woke sort of watered down sort of like thing where like they're afraid of any controversy? So on the last show, maybe 2 shows ago, I asked about, have you heard a peep from Crystalia? Right. And we both were like, I don't know. I don't fuck. Where'd the good? I don't know. Did he disappeared?
Right.
Well, into my YouTube feed yesterday comes a Crystalia video. First time he's been online and I don't know how long.
Which I have to assume means that he listened to our show and he's like, oh, I better say something. So he went ahead and made a video.
Of course. And yeah, if anyone's wondering why he came back, any of those Dalia fans were the reason. So like, but he comes into my YouTube feed and I think is the heading, it's been a while. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Which immediately, at first I thought, is he sending me a stained video? Like, I didn't know what this was.
So the title is It's Been a While. And I was like, well, you know what? It has been a while. I'm curious because look, he got accused of some nasty shit. He didn't do anything wrong. For those that don't know, he was accused of engaging in sexual congress with minors, and he was sending, sexually suggestive messages to minors. And look, no, he wasn't. The girls were of age. It was all consensual. It's been proven. He didn't do anything wrong. If anything, we can find him a little bit creepy because he likes just legal enough girls.
But yes, that's creepy.
Maybe to some, but to some people, that's their thing. That's their perversion.
Mm-hmm.
How many guys do you know? And I think we talked about this when this happened, but how many guys do you know? You know a couple, because I do, that are like, ooh, when they see a young girl and they say something like, oh, I bet she's barely legal, or like, something weird like that. And you're like, ugh, dude.
That's gross.
Those guys exist.
I know. Yeah.
By the dozens.
Mm-hmm.
By the dozens, multiplied by the extra dozens, and then the more dozens. They exist.
Mm-hmm.
Not my thing. Not my thing. But it is some people's thing. Just like, when Louis C.K. got in trouble, what did he get in trouble for? What did he do? He asked for consent if he could jerk off in front of women. Some said no, and he dropped it. Some said yes, and he did it. That's his perversion. That's his thing. He didn't do anything wrong. So with Crystalia, he gets accused.
Hang on. With Louis C.K., was there anyone that he just did it without getting permission from?
From what I've heard, no.
Okay. I couldn't remember if not.
And not heard, from what I've read and heard people talking about on podcasts and whatever. Look, is it weird to walk up to a woman that's in a green room in the back of a comedy club and say, hey, can I jerk off in front of you? Absolutely. Right. A little bit weird. Again, not my thing. However, it's not weird if she goes, yeah, and you should do it. And then you pull your dick out and you jack off. That's not weird.
I know. I get it.
Consensual sexual behavior between adults. Some people might find them weird, but at the end of the day, they're not doing anything wrong. So Crystalia gets accused of all this shit. And come to find out, it was all consensual. All the girls were of age. But he disappears. He basically gets canceled. Doesn't have his podcast anymore. His agent drops, whatever. He's gone. He disappears for months. And then yesterday he brings out this video. Now, I clicked on the video because I was curious. I'm wouldn't necessarily call myself a fan of his, but I know who he is. I've watched 2 of his specials, probably part of the way through. I've seen him on podcasts I watch and listen to. I've heard him on, so I was curious. So I clicked it and I listened. Now, how long is that video? What, 10 minutes maybe?
Yeah, right at.
For the entire 10 minutes, I was waiting for him to start laughing, crack a joke.
Oh, you thought this wasn't serious?
Why would it be? You're a comedian. You disappeared for months, come back, and dude, could you imagine? Could you imagine if he had just come back and made that video and he'd done his that laugh that he does? And he goes, yeah, I like him barely legal, and laughed about it. And dude, he would go viral and his career would explode. Just like Louis, all he had to do was come back and go, well, I asked.
But, oh man, I see what you're saying. Yes, that would go viral.
Yeah, it would offend some people, but so what?
But then it's going to come across like he's mocking the situation for something that he's been. Oh man, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
He should mock the situation. Because he's a comedian, and B, because he didn't do anything wrong.
But he has to weigh the fact: is it important enough to him to get through all of the crap he's going to have to go through by that video going viral and get through the sea of people that are going to be pissed off about it?
Are you
for his career to explode?
Are you a comedian, or are you a fucking a doormat for Twitter trolls? What are you?
Right.
You're a comedian. So he comes back and he puts out this serious, emotional, which again, come on, bro. Like, look, if he's got problems, he's got problems. He basically comes out and says he's a sex addict.
Which is weird, but he didn't actually say that. Because he even talked about going to therapy and stuff, but he never said that he was like diagnosed as being a sex addict or anything, which is kind of, I was put aback by a little bit.
Yeah, he said it through implication, which I thought was, like you just said, I thought that was a little bit weird. But, dude, you're a comedian. It's almost like you're supposed to be a sex addict. It's like a musician. Like, if a member of Motley Crue came out and said, "Yeah, forgive me for all that I've done. Forgive me for my sins and all that debauchery that sold us millions of records. I'm a sex addict." What? You're what? Your name is Nikki Sixx. I would expect you to be a sex addict. And I don't know but you understand what I'm saying? Like, you named yourself Axl Rose. You should be a sex addict. Like, if he's not doing anything wrong, and look, if he thinks being a sex addict is wrong and it's overtaken his life, again, I don't want to judge him for that. If he really thinks he has a problem, then get help. Okay. But where are you going to go from here? So you're going to be the sex addict comedian who apologized for all of the, I don't know. Lenny Bruce didn't go to jail for you so that you could come back and apologize about liking sex because it was readily available to you because of your career. And it was almost like he was saying, like, it's a problem that it was so easy for him to have sex with random women because of his job. No, that's not a problem. It comes with the job. Some people may think that's wrong, but it comes with the job. If those women are willing to have sex with him because they think he's funny, or because they think he's funny and good looking, or because they think he's funny, good looking, and charming, and, oh, by the way, has money, that's up to those women. They're not doing anything wrong if it's consensual.
Well, he also played it like, and we won't know whether it's true or not, whether he's actually going out and trying to find women, but the way he played it off was that when he would get off stage, he would have 50, different messages in his inbox of women wanting to get together with him. So he's kind of playing it off as if I didn't start this. Like, they came to me first. All I did was acknowledge that they did and said, yeah, let's get together.
Again.
But if that is the truth, then if it's consensual, what did he do wrong?
Nothing. But why is one worse than the other? So if he's the guy,
yeah,
going out and trying to get laid. Why is that wrong also?
Based off this video, the only reason I would say that is because apparently he does have a fiance.
Okay, cheating's, I get it.
But okay. But if he's just a single comedian on the road, I don't see that it's an issue.
So morally speaking, you could be offended because he cheated on his fiance. Well, A, it's not your fucking business. It's his and hers.
Right.
And B, he still didn't do anything wrong. He didn't break any laws. He didn't commit any crime.
Right.
Yeah, he's not a good guy because he cheated on his fiance. I got news for people. Comedians cheat when they're on the fucking road. Musicians cheat when they're on the fucking road.
Look how many marriages and divorces that we see in the music industry and in the comedy industry.
Yeah.
Isn't Andrew Dice Clay on like his 8th marriage or something?
Oh, God. Yeah. Stop getting married. Yeah.
Isn't that nuts? Isn't that nuts? Wouldn't you think after like the first one, they would understand, they would get it?
Yeah. But I mean,
what is it? What is it that makes, I don't know. I guess it's not just comedians though. I guess it's anybody. I look at that and I'm like, what makes you get married 4 times?
Well, how many times is too many? 4?
I mean, I guess
2, 3. I'm just curious.
I would say after 2, if you get divorced after 2, you really have to really look at yourself hard and look at, should this happen again? I'll give you 1 because people get married young and things like that. And sometimes it's just not the right decision to make. I get it.
Yeah.
And then, so a second one, you're like, all right, I can redo all this. I can, make my life better. And then after 2, if that doesn't work out, then you kind of look at yourself and be like, am I the reason? And if so, should I be marrying anybody else?
Yeah, but I'm with you on that. But there are some people out there that think relationships only last so long anyway. So whether we get married or not, this relationship has an expiration date.
So why would you get married?
It's just the thing people do.
Just so you can give half of your money to them when it's over with?
I mean, I'm not, you know what? See, that's one of those times where I was going to say something and I stopped myself. My only thing, and again, it's none of my business and if they're not doing anything wrong, but if you get married multiple times and have kids with each marriage, that's Jesus Christ. What are you doing to your kids? But yeah, again, none of my business. People do it. Those kids, some kids with parents divorce grow up just fine. Multiple divorces, they grow up just fine, whatever. So again, it's not against the law to get married 6 times. It's not against the law to have kids with each partner. Do what you do. I don't know how many is too many, but back to what you and I were just saying, people fucking cheat when they go on the road. They do. Some people don't, but some people do. It just happens. It's the way it's, you can be as open and honest as you want with your partner, but if you're out away from them constantly, you can't control the situation always. Now, could you be a good guy? Go to your show. Now listen to me. Check this out.
Okay.
So here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying by you can't control the situation all the time. You can try your best. Absolutely. And I'm saying you need to make an effort. I'm not saying don't make an effort at all because you're fucked. I'm saying you make an effort. But if you're a guy, you're a comedian. We'll just use comedian because I don't want this to sound too anecdotal. Say you're a comedian. You get on you go to the airport, you get on a plane, you fly to your destination, you take a cab or an Uber or a car to your hotel. You check into your hotel. Now, you could be a good boy and you could just stay in your room, order room service, watch TV, fall asleep, right? Wake up the next day, order room service again for your breakfast, take a shower, maybe go to the hotel gym, go back to your room, wait till the show starts. Take a car to the show, do the show, do your meet and greet, go back to your hotel room, fall asleep, take the plane the next morning out of town. Yeah, you could do that. And there are guys that probably do that. However, there's a lot of time to just sit around and think about what it is you're doing and how boring it is and how far away you are from home. And oh, by the way, the other person at home isn't just this innocent person that isn't having these same feelings that the person on the road is. And this isn't about male and female. It has nothing to do with that. This is humanity. The other person's at home, thousands of miles away, with some sort of freedom, having all the same thoughts as the person who's sitting in that hotel room is having. My husband or wife is 1,000 miles away, right? Let me go out. Let me go grab lunch. The kids are whatever. Let me go grab lunch. Let me go out with my friends. I'm just saying you can't control the situation when someone is 1,000 miles away. You can try your best to control your own, but you cannot control theirs. It's up to them. So without the open communication about, hey, we're on the same wavelength, not only with our communication, but with our situation. Look, man, like for real, how many people are checking in once every hour when they're away from their spouse?
Right. I get it.
That's not what trust is. There are some people who can be trusted and there's some people who cannot be. I guess that's my point. I don't know.
So you're saying you can't control the situation, but here's the difference with him is that he's looking for the situation.
Oh yeah,
he's going into his inboxes and he's looking for those women who are reaching out to him to try to get together.
No, I get that.
And it's specifically for this. You know what I'm saying? Like he could control the situation better if he wasn't looking for it. If he wanted to go out to the bar and have a few drinks and whatnot, and I'm not condoning this, but I'm saying that if something were to happen, he were to hook up with a girl from a bar or something like that, just because that happened, I could see that more than him specifically walking off stage and automatically looking for this.
But listen, one is not worse than the other.
Okay.
It's not. I'm just saying, whether he goes to an inbox and sees 50 girls who are sending pictures of their tits and he says, come to my hotel room, or whether he goes out to a bar after the show and there's a girl at the bar who says, yep, it's happening. We're going to have sex. One's not worse than the other. It's the same situation. It's just the moment is created a different way. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying it's right that he's cheating on his fiance if that's what he was doing, which I guess he said he was. But comedians cheat. And if you had an understanding with your fiance that you were going to put out an apology video or an apology statement, and you guys discussed that it wasn't okay for you to joke about that, that's on you. Well, but again, where does he go from here as a comedian? I don't know.
Well, listen, okay. He really had two routes to take for this, right? To move on with his career. He either takes the route of I did nothing wrong and take the backlash for that, and then hopefully he overcomes it and moves on with his career.
Okay.
Or he gets out in front of it like he did here and says, I did do something wrong, because he knows that's going to appease his fans and the media a little better by saying, I did do something wrong. I'm working on it. Now let's move forward. He had those two different options, and this is the one he chose.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't funny.
I don't think it was supposed to be.
I would have rather it been funny. You're I'm just saying.
Like, sir, you're a comedian, and that was not funny. I don't like it. Let's redo that.
Look, man. Again, it's up to him. He can do whatever he wants. I can obviously comment on it, and this is what we're doing, I guess. Call me a hater or what, but look, a part of me also thinks, all right, dude, you had a really good following on YouTube. That following, for the most part, tuned in and watched you because they thought you were funny. He's still financially benefiting from that video and the views it gets.
Yeah, for sure.
Be funny. That's all. Do you have a clip of him
Yeah, give me
I feel like without the clip, we need to build some context for those that are listening. If we haven't lost you by now, because I probably sound like such a dick. That usually happens. But
you do realize that after you say it most
I
times.
dig my own holes. Yes, I understand.
All right, here we go. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna put this up.
When I first started doing stand-up and I started getting a little bit of notoriety in my early 30s, having sex got a lot easier.
It will,
for the lack of better words. And I felt lucky. I felt like, oh wow, I don't need to work as hard. I can just do a show and then have sex, or roll into a city and look at my inbox and then just start writing. And I did, man. I wrote. I know you've seen some of the messages online. There's way more than that. I would get at least 50 messages after a show each city a night, and I would reply to all of them. And I thought in my mind that being straight up with these women was the right thing to do. I'd say, hey, come to my hotel room and let's have sex. Let's make out. Let's do this. Let's do that. And that was what I thought was right.
It was.
I realized through all of this that doing that is just treating sex like it's casual and being flippant with people. And that's not the guy I want to be. It's not okay. And I'm sorry for that.
So, yeah.
So basically he's apologizing for being, what's the word for male whore? Cad? Is that it?
What? I've never heard that in my life. That's a word? Cad?
I want to say that I'm correct on that. Yes. It's not a word that I often use, but yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Is that a word or is that a stand for something?
That's the fucking way. You're going to make me look this up. Who cares? It doesn't matter. He's a male whore. Anyway.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's the word. But so he's apologizing for having casual sex on the road as a comedian. Again, what did he want that sex to mean? What was it supposed to mean? You've done nothing wrong. If a girl sends you a message saying, hey, let's hang out, and if you're honest with her, okay? If you're honest with her and you say, yeah, let's hang out. Why don't you just come to my hotel room? We'll have sex. That girl has two choices. She shows up and she does it, or she goes, oh, that's not what I meant. You're gross. And then she shows it to all her friends. She puts it on Instagram and he's put on blast. And then everyone moves on.
And see, that's my thing too, is that he had to know that a situation like this could happen. No matter what night it is, those messages are still there. Anybody can screenshot anything from their phone.
Of course.
And whether that girl chose to go there or she said what you said and said, no, gross, I don't want to do that. Then she screenshots that and it gets put on Instagram and now it's viral. Now your career is where it is now. That could happen any night that he does this, that could happen.
Yeah. But again, I don't feel anything should happen to his career. The nature of his job, this is a normal thing. It's always been this way. And let me be clear about something I said. I said, you can't control the situation. Here's what I meant by that. If you're in a relationship with all sorts of holes, this is what I mean. Cause I don't want it to sound like this is my situation, because I am someone who travels. Okay. And am away from my wife. But what I'm trying to say is, if there are holes in your relationship, that's what I'm saying about controlling the situation. If there are holes and you're leaving the relationship with ongoing issues, all of that stuff on the road, all of that stuff for the person at home, all of the temptation, all of the dishonesty, all of the, being disloyal, being untrustworthy, it gets easier. That's my point. I don't know if that was a situation, right? But it gets easier. Okay. Or you're in a relationship where you have the understanding that I'm going to go on the road and I might cheat. That I know people that have been in relationships like that.
Yeah.
Okay. That are still in relationships like that. They're in open relationships. Okay. And it wasn't necessarily because one person left and the other stayed home. They had nothing to do with that. That just was that is their relationship. So like, that's a situation as well. Some people find those people to be morally reprehensible. So what? Doesn't matter. It's their right. They can do what they want. So for him, it's just like, man, I get why you're apologizing, because you feel you have to, because you've been canceled. But man, how much more of an impact would that have, that state? And by the way, that was a minute and a half of a 10-minute statement where he does talk about he's going to therapy. His fiance knows that he's cheated. He wants to be a better role model for his son. I get that. But also, you can agree with, let me know if you agree with this. Our kids need to grow up in a world, and this is just my opinion, where it's okay to say what you're feeling. Sometimes it might be wrong. Sometimes there might be consequences, but it's their right. Right. So when I'm saying that, and what I mean by that is, had he come out, said, I like him barely legal, and then told a joke, yeah, that might have offended some people, but he can do that. Now, he didn't do that. I get it. He felt what he did was right. Maybe, I don't know. But I, when he's saying, set an example for my kid, I agree. But why does your kid, why are you letting other people create, for sort of write this narrative for you that you're some sort of villain to your child?
Well, but didn't he write that for himself? Like, why did he even have to include his fiance and his kid in that video? He didn't have to.
I mean,
and how many and how many people are actually going after him because he cheated on his fiance? It's not even about that, right?
No, it's not.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, he chose to make that part of this, and it's probably because it makes him look
more
honest
and open about it.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's also, everyone knows that, look, if all he's done is cheat on his fiance, if that's the original story that comes out, well, people just go, oh, that guy's a piece of shit, and they move on. It's not as sexy a story,
right?
If it's, oh, I cheated on my fiance, oh, by the way, with a 16-year-old, right? That doesn't get as many clicks. That doesn't turn the page.
But now, depending on whoever writes the story, can't this look worse now? Because you've got the original story, but now we're adding fuel to it by adding that he's been cheating on his fiance and when he's out of town, away from her and his kid. And
yeah, I don't think so. I think we live in a time now where people are praised for getting on camera and crying about their feelings and crying about their mistakes. Dude, we make mistakes. We're fucking human.
The other thing about this too is he has enough friends in the industry that I'm sure that this decision to do this wasn't just on his own. He's been silent for a while, but I guarantee he's talking to people. He's probably talking to Brian Callen, and who's going through a lot of stuff right now too in the industry. And
can you tell?
Right. But I mean, he's probably talking to like bigger people too, like Joe Rogan and stuff like that too. I
seriously doubt it.
You don't think so?
No. Joe Rogan's not talking to him about this.
You don't think?
No. Joe, you when Ari Shaffir made the Kobe comment, or the joke, whatever you want to call it, did you ever hear Joe Rogan talk about that?
Well, no, but there's nothing saying that they weren't talking behind the scenes.
They're supposed to be best friends.
That's what I'm saying. His homie. Well, I know, but that doesn't mean he has to talk about that on the show. That makes it.
Are you kidding me? Your best friend is under media attack for something he said, which, by the way, he has the right to say, and he calls it a joke. And Joe Rogan's this purveyor of comedy, and comedy is sacred. No one should be able to tell someone what's funny or not, and you shouldn't. He didn't say a goddamn word about it. A little bit odd. All I'm saying is, if he didn't say anything about that, he's definitely not talking to Chris D'Elia about this. I'm going to go even a step further. I bet you he hasn't even talked to Brian Callen about his situation. I guess what I'm saying is Joe Rogan lives in a goddamn bubble. Okay. And that bubble, it doesn't have many people in it, I guess is my point.
Did Rogan ever say, like, give an explanation of why he moved? Why he moved to Texas?
It's funny you ask that. So I was just listening to his episode with Tim Dillon, and apparently he's got big announcements coming. Like he's changing Austin. He's gonna rebuild the city. It's gonna be the new LA.
Okay.
Kind of the way he was, kind of the picture he was painting. So we'll see.
Okay.
I think that's why. Look, I think it just, his life changed. All these guys are moving though. So Segura moved to Austin. Tony Hinchcliffe moved to Austin. Tim Dillon moved to Austin.
Joey Diaz.
I think they're trying to get their little clique back together, and they found a new city that they're able to do it in. And if they shut Austin down like LA shut down, then they'll go somewhere else. What?
Didn't Joey Diaz move back home?
He went to New Jersey or something.
Yeah, I think that's where he went to. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Like, you still have your comedians in LA, but I don't know. I wonder if you're going to see a lot of them move away too.
Well, if California is as bad as they're saying, maybe.
I mean, it is a bubble. It's a.
Well, look, my friends that live in California that are, one is in LA. They don't claim it to be as bad as these comedians are saying. The comedians can't work the same way they could. That's why they're upset. And I get it. You got to work. You got to perform. That's how you earn your living. So they move. So they'll start a new little clique in Austin. No big deal. But it is a clique. It is a clique.
I mean, I get it. You know, LA had, like, you know, the Comedy Store and stuff like that has been massive over the past few years, which I imagine is going to decline.
Well, apparently it's not even going to open, or he kind of alluded to that, I guess.
They're shutting it down?
I don't know. But also, listen, as much as I like a lot of the comedians that regularly perform there, this whole idea of it being this sacred ground where you're surrounded by murderers and assassins, let's stop calling comedians assassins. Okay. You tell stories and you tell dick jokes. Stop. But, like, it's this sacred ground where if you're not a part of the group and if you're not working on your craft, you're going to get buried by all of these assassins. Let's stop that. That can happen anywhere, and it does happen everywhere, right? That's what he's doing in Austin, essentially, which is good. Yeah, do it there. You know, that's why these guys are successful as they are. You know, but it's a clique.
But I'm curious.
There are other comedy clubs in the United States that do just as well as the Comedy Store, that have just as funny of people. Like, a lot of these guys just paint this picture, like, if you don't do comedy at the Comedy Store, then it's over. It's over for you. If you can't, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm not a comedian, so maybe they're right. But I don't know.
I just wonder what he means by he's going to basically rebuild LA in Austin. Like, I don't understand.
He didn't say that. That's how I took it.
Okay.
I'll send you a clip. I'll send you something. I mean, you'll get a better idea. I probably should have had that ready, but sorry. I was literally listening to it before we started. So,
okay.
Look, man, I don't think Chris D'Elia's job should have been in jeopardy because of what he did. You don't lose your job because you cheat on your fiance. You just don't. And you don't lose your job because someone accuses you of something that's not true. You just don't.
But that's a question too. Is he, I mean, are comedy clubs, like, purposely not booking him or anything like that? Have we heard anything like that?
I don't know how many comedy clubs are open right now, but he stopped doing his podcast. He stopped doing it, the YouTube. I mean, he basically disappeared. Whereas, like, another guy who's going through the same thing.
I wonder if that was a sponsor thing or if that was
I'm sure it was.
You think?
I'm sure it was.
Okay.
Which, fuck off, MeUndies. He had sex with an 18-year-old. Who cares? What does that have to do with your product?
Right.
I don't know, man. Yeah, be funny. I guess that was my whole point. You weren't funny, bro. what happened to comedians, man? Like, dude, could you imagine Richard Pryor apologizing for something like this? Richard Pryor set himself on fire when he was freebasing cocaine.
Yeah,
And
but dude,
he spent 30 minutes talking about it during a special. Oh, by the way, that happened right after that situation.
it was a different. I know it sounds cliche to say, but it was a different time, different people watching that, man. Like it's not that anymore. And
Well, it needs to be.
No matter how many times we say that it shouldn't be the way it is, you just because you're accused of something doesn't mean you automatically lose everything. Anybody can accuse you of anything at any point. And you're supposed to lose your livelihood because of that. That's ridiculous.
That's my point.
And I get it. I get what you're saying, but people aren't looking at it that way anymore. People are conditioned to look at things differently now. It's just the way it is. And if you want to continue a career, you have to make your way through it somehow. And you have to make the decisions that you think are going to keep people with their eyes in your direction. More people on one side than the other. Like, you know what I mean? Like you've got to try to keep your crowd watching your stuff and doing what you're doing.
His crowd expects him to be funny.
Okay.
So if he had made a joke there, hey, Chris D'Elia's back. He's being funny again. I'm on board. Will you lose some fans if you don't apologize? Perhaps. Will you gain fans if you don't apologize? Perhaps. But will the true integrity of what you do as a profession stay intact? Absolutely.
Are you sure about that?
He's a comedian, man. What do you
know, dude? I know.
What are we talking about?
Because what you're saying is what the media is loving to attack now. Like the media wants to attack everything that he says and put it in a negative light. And that's the thing. And that's why I think he came out and tried. His version of getting in front of this was saying what he said, apologizing and saying that he's working through it. So, because if he would have made that joke, media would have jumped down his throat.
But he's not ahead of it, dude. He disappeared for months. Getting ahead of it is making that statement like a week after the allegations. That's getting ahead of it. He disappeared.
Okay. I understand.
He's not ahead of it. It's controlling his life now. His livelihood as a professional, I guess, is my point. I don't know.
But also, okay, let me ask you this. I wonder what the behind the scenes is with sponsors. So say this situation happened, he got the allegations against him. Sponsors come to him and say, "Listen, man, we can't do this. We don't want to be attached to this controversy," and they step away. So then he steps away. I mean, how do sponsors? I guess I just wonder what the behind the scenes is with sponsors, like how they look at situations like this. Is it automatically we drop you? We don't want to be attached to this. Like I don't know. I'm curious.
Some would. I mean, I don't think all people would approach it that way. But I mean, he chooses his sponsors, so I think you get. I don't know. I don't know. I don't.
Okay. Well, the other side of that is I wonder if say he was in contact with the sponsors that he had and said, "Listen, I'm getting ready to put out this video apologizing for what I did."
Don't do that.
Listen, I'm just curious.
I'm telling him
if there is behind the scenes that he does that and he says, I'm just wondering if he would be able to regain sponsorship back if he said that, "Hey, I'm going to put out a video. I'm going to try to get ahead of this thing a little bit by apologizing and try to move on with my career. If I do this, would you be willing to jump back on board?" I wonder if that's a thing. And I wonder if that's part of this.
If that is a thing, it's gross.
Possibly, but if his YouTube podcast jumps back on board in 2 weeks and he's got sponsors again, it's going to make me think that something like that happened.
Gross.
Just saying.
Yeah. So, I mean, the one thing we haven't said is that if these allegations were true, then would it be okay that he loses the ability to work and all that stuff? Well, yeah. That would make him a criminal, right?
Right.
He had sex with a minor. That's a crime.
Right.
But those allegations are not true. Everything was consensual. Everyone was of age. So,
But still, how do you move forward?
you do what you're supposed to do, which is be a comedian and joke about it. Do you?
That's a tough situation.
But does he really want the people that would be offended by jokes as fans anyway? As a comedian, are those people you want? Are those the people that you're performing for and are pandering to? No.
Well, listen, and I understand what you're saying, but I don't know that it's necessarily just that. I mean, if you have the allegations around you and you got that stigma around you now, that probably has a lot to do in the industry of like getting booked and things like that too. Like I would imagine that your livelihood isn't on the line just because of losing fans. It's probably because of losing, venues booking you and things like that because you're attached to this now.
You think every venue?
I'm not saying every venue. I'm saying some.
Do you think the Comedy Store would shun him, would not let him perform?
I don't know.
Let's get real. No.
Some place like the Comedy Store who used to have like your Richard Pryor and George Carlins and stuff like that, they're probably not going to. But maybe you're like local places to us, like your Funny Bone or your Helium Comedy Club or something like that, they might.
If either of those places, if it were actual news that either of those places didn't let Chris D'Elia perform there, I would pick it outside of the box offices at both of them. I would protest for Chris D'Elia. I'm serious, because that's ridiculous.
I know, I get it, and that might not even be a thing. I'm just thinking of all the different ways that he could be affected by this.
I got you. Well, I'm still waiting for him to be funny again. I don't like sad, sobbing comedian apologizing for previous behavior that morally may have been questionable, but again, he didn't commit any crimes.
Right.
And he has the right to feel bad about what he did, what he's done. Sure, I understand. I have no interest in hearing about it again. Now that you've already said you feel bad and you're working on yourself, cool. If you're now a guy who just gets on YouTube and talks about how you can better yourself, not through comedy, but through whatever. All right. I got my own therapist, bro. I don't need you. So moving on. That's it. I don't know.
Yeah, I get it.
But can you answer me a question? Who do you dislike more? So do you? So I think we're both on the same page here that comedians should be able to be comedians. They should be able to say what they want to say. And their careers shouldn't be devastated by allegations and accusations that turn out to not be true. Right? We're on the same page?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you be upset with, well, no. Do you think it's okay why don't you just tell me, you sent me a story about someone who has decided in their 50s they're going to go back to college and they're going to play athletic, or they're going to participate in collegiate athletics as a 50-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I say that just like that, most people would probably go, well, what are they, fucking crazy? Maybe. But this person specifically, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? Possibly. But are they as crazy if it is a man who decides to become a woman, or say that she was always a woman, and then decides to participate in collegiate basketball with other women? Is that crazy? Does that upset you?
Yes.
Let me go a step further. This woman is also every bit of 6'6"
yeah.
to 30.
And
Fair?
was in the Navy.
And was a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
Fair? To
No.
the 5'8" point guard
No.
from the woods who played at your high school? Probably not.
No.
So what do you do?
I've been thinking about like, and
Do you
you're
do you
probably
have
you're
that story?
gonna
Do
be,
you know the name of this person?
yes, I do.
Because I didn't
actually.
save it.
Yeah, I do. Hang on. It is. Oh, where should she go?
This is a controversial topic, man. We got to be careful.
Yes, it is. Her
We'll lose,
name is Gabrielle Ludwig.
Okay.
And okay, I'm not trying to toe the line or anything. What I'm trying to say here is that I don't look down upon anybody who wants to feel comfortable in their own body.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, absolutely.
And if transgender is the way you need to go to be comfortable with your life and be who you want to be and feel how you want to feel, that's perfectly fine with me. And I'm never going to badmouth or down anybody for that. But when it comes to sports, when it comes to sports, I can't understand how it is fair to anyone, especially women. And I understand equality and all this stuff, but especially women, to put someone who used to be a man on the court with them in basketball, or the worst of them all, MMA, because we also have a transgender fighter who was a male who transitioned to female and broke a woman's skull.
Correct. Not the first woman either.
How is this fair? How I don't understand. And it's like the only reason that it's being done, from what I can see, is just because what do you do? Do you make a transgender league of something, or like a basketball league, or a MMA, just for transgender MMA fighters? I don't know what to do. And the other question I had, and I was trying to look this up and I couldn't find anything, but I didn't look really hard. Do you have the opposite scenario happening? Do you have women transitioning to men and then trying to fight in or fight or anything in men's sports?
No,
you don't.
I mean, there that might be a situation, but no, I mean, I don't know of one that could be happening somewhere. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Look, with the guy, the woman who is playing collegiate basketball, who used to be a man, or who has transitioned to being a woman from a man. Now, is it fair? Well, how good is she at basketball? I mean, she fucking sucks. She sucks. Then whatever. Good luck.
From the pictures I've seen, she don't look great. But she also, the article that I was reading was saying that she hasn't like really played basketball. She played basketball in college for one semester back in 1980.
Okay, so look, it's a man who's had experience playing basketball, who's now who has transitioned into being a woman. So he's trying to compete on a different level than he used to. I'm sorry. She is trying to compete on a different level than she used to. I don't know. I don't know how level the playing field is there, but I do know in fighting, it's different. Mm-hmm. You do not get to, dude, when it comes to fighting, it's just different because we're different. Men and women are different physiologically when it comes to that. The power difference and the ability to hurt someone is just different. It's just different.
It is.
And for like Fallon Fox was the example I gave to you, and I don't know if that's who you're talking about, but like,
yeah, it was.
Fallon Fox was she was in the military of some kind, was a man for many, many years, had a child with a woman, her high school sweetheart, transitioned and started fighting and beating the shit out of women. The discrepancy was astronomical. Just the difference in size and power, everything. He was just ragdolling girls. She was just ragdolling girls. No, I don't think that's fair. I don't know how that equates to basketball, a sport like basketball, but in physical sports with heavy physical contact, no, sorry. You don't get to go play field hockey, women's field hockey now, you know?
Right.
And I don't even know how physical. Isn't field hockey pretty physical? Isn't this pretty physical sport?
I don't really know.
Whatever. You get what I'm saying. If
Hang
it
on,
is
is field
physical,
hockey
then
and lacrosse the same thing, or is that two different sports?
that's two different sports. I can't believe you just asked me
I don't think I know what field hockey is. I've heard it before. I definitely know what lacrosse is.
Okay, fine. You don't get to go play women's lacrosse.
Okay.
You don't. Lacrosse is a physical sport.
Yeah.
And there is women's lacrosse. No, you don't get to go play with women now. Yeah, I don't have a solution. I do know in fighting, we're a long ways away in fighting for that to even be okay. Maybe in collegiate basketball, we could find a way to make it work fine. But because basketball, while it is a physical sport at times, there's a certain level of skill that you need to have to compete at different levels. So she may not, the woman we're speaking of, she may not even have the skill to compete at that level. In which case, okay, you're a member of the team. You're just someone who's there. And that happens at all levels for both men and women. You know, there are people who
I mean, if you think about like in say an Amanda Nunes or somebody like that who is dominant in MMA, she could probably in the around the same weight class fight a man in that same weight class.
a trained man, or
an average
guy.
I don't know. Look, you seem like you're on the opposite side of the spectrum with me on this.
Do I think that Amanda Nunes could compete at featherweight in the UFC?
Okay. Well,
men?
okay.
No.
Here's where I was going with that. Take somebody in her weight class, a man, and then they transition to a woman and then come over. Trained or not trained, does that make a difference? If they're going to fight Amanda Nunes?
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Does make a huge difference.
Yeah.
So for you, it's the same scenario. Whether Amanda Nunes goes and fights a man in her same weight class now that's trained, or if a trained male transitions to a female and then goes over and fights her. Like, this is a legit question to me.
Good luck.
Good luck. Okay.
Same weight class?
Yeah.
So they've had a little bit of training. They've now transitioned. They're now a woman. They're now fighting in the UFC at 145. And Amanda Nunes is who they signed the contract to fight.
Yeah.
How much training have they had? Like how much? Like years or like a couple months?
Well, I mean, if they're in the UFC, they've got to have some training.
Forget about transitions. If you're a man and you've had 6 months of training and you weigh 150 pounds and you go fight Amanda Nunes, she's going to wipe the fucking floor with you.
Right.
Okay. However, if you're a man who's been competing in MMA for 8 years, you've been fighting at every regional circuit, you've been fighting on every promotion, and you get the call up to the UFC, and they say, you're going to fight Amanda Nunes. I don't feel good about Amanda Nunes' chances. I don't. I guess what I'm saying is I don't think there's any man on the UFC roster at featherweight that Amanda Nunes should be fighting or could be fighting. Let me just say that. And I, as you know, am an Amanda Nunes fan.
Yes.
But do I think Amanda Nunes could walk in this room right now and kick my ass? 100%. However, what are the rules? What are the rules? Okay. Just punches? Is there jujitsu? Is there grappling? Kicks? No kicks? I want to know. Because I feel like there are a few situations where I know I could take her. I'm just saying.
Really? You really think so?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
And that is not standing. She's going to box your face off.
I don't know, man. I'm just saying. I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't know.
I don't like this conversation.
I don't know.
The fact that I don't know if I can agree with you.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm kidding. I would never fight a woman, period. Even if, no, I wouldn't. No. Well, how much money are we talking? I'd let Amanda Nunes hit me in the face for there is a price. Yeah, man, I don't have a solution. I don't know if there should be transgender leagues. I think that would help. I think that would help alleviate some of the concerns and the overall confusion and apprehension and just overall feeling of awkwardness and being uncomfortable that people have around transgender anyway. Like you said at the beginning of this, I don't have a problem. I, like you, do not have a problem. If you were meant to be a woman or you were meant to be a man, then you should do it. I'm not going to stop you. I don't think you're weird. I don't think anything's wrong with you. But there are people out there who do think you're weird and are uncomfortable with the situation and do not think you deserve the same things as them. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. And I personally, I don't have a solution, man. I don't. But I'm team unity, man. Like I
right.
want to make this very clear. But I don't want you to get to beat up on girls if you used to be a man. I don't think it's right.
Mm-hmm.
It's right.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, and I mentioned just trying, like I mentioned the whole, like, do you make transgender leagues and stuff like that just as like a somewhat of a possible solution to all this? But even that would be so hard to do because of the, amount in different areas of people who are actually transgender who are trying to play certain sports and things like that. It would just be too hard to, maybe in the future, maybe 50 years down the road, it could be, something like that. I don't know, but
yeah. Well, look, I think like a lot of things in this country and a lot of things in life, I feel like transgender athletes need the correct or the proper advocates, meaning other transgender people should be the ones fighting for their freedom. And I think people who are not transgender should shut the fuck up. Be on their side, right?
So what do you mean? You talking about like the LGBTQ and
well,
like the community?
No. Here's what I mean. So like if you're, I probably need to elaborate. Okay. So okay. I've seen, as far as like Fallon Fox goes, the MMA fighter, which I believe she's now retired. I don't think she fights anymore. So, but either way, I've seen a lot of the people online who are sort of defending her rights to fight were women, just women who have always been a woman. And part of their argument was, well, she's always been a woman. Since birth, she's been a woman. And that's where I think there's some gray area. So was she a woman when she had a child with another woman? She gave that woman her sperm, right? I don't think so.
This is just identity speaking though, right?
I don't know. Well, it is.
That's where that's where the waters get really rough when it comes to like
it does,
talking about people who are gender fluid and they are they identify as a different gender or anything like that. And like we said, I have nothing against that. You do you. That's perfectly fine. And if that's, do whatever makes you feel comfortable to get through this life. But still, it's just, I don't know where the line, like how you incorporate everybody together to get unity.
Yeah, I don't either. Like I said, I don't have the solutions, but like I do know that once upon a time, she was a man. There's proof of that. Her daughter is proof, right? And because of that, I still don't think it's okay for her to punch women in the face. I think we need to hold off on that just yet. I just do. I don't know.
Okay, but is that only because of like what if she wasn't a good fighter as a man? Like what if she was like a mediocre MMA fighter? Okay. She was just mediocre, and then when there was no technique. Over,
she was just pummeling girls. She was just pummeling girls who were smaller than her, who also, by the way, were mediocre fighters.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying this to be an asshole. I mean, people can look this up. There are videos of There's video evidence,
Yeah.
and if you've watched MMA more than for 15 minutes of your life, you're going to see the discrepancy there. Could she have competed in the UFC? Probably not. From a skill level.
Well, see, and that's what I'm curious of. Like, how does UFC treat that? Do they look at it? I mean, just based off of skill alone?
What do you mean? Like, do they let her fight in the UFC based on skill?
Yeah.
Well, that should be the case, right? That should be. But does the UFC, do they want the headline?
Right.
I don't know. I think we've offended everyone with this episode.
I don't think so, because
No?
we've looked at both sides of everything.
I'm trying not to be offensive and again, I just know. Okay. I just know, as someone who grew up playing sports and competing in sports, I can't think of a single moment beyond like second grade soccer where a girl should have ever been on the field with the types of people that the types of people with the skill level they had that I played with in any sport. Can't think of it. I just can't. So does that make me a bad person? Maybe. That certainly doesn't scream equality. But as we talked about with the Sarah Fuller, the kicker, I don't want girls on the football field, man. They're going to get hurt.
Right.
So yeah, I might sound like a sexist pig right now, but I don't know.
I mean, this is going to sound really dumb too, but the only way I could think about it would be is if you have leagues growing up that never separate the boys and the girls.
It's not going to be the most competitive league.
No, but what I'm saying though, like if you have basketball, soccer, whatever, even training in MMA and stuff like that, like growing up, if you don't separate the boys from the girls and make just boys basketball teams and just girls basketball teams and stuff, if you keep them all together growing up, now you've got that unity factor, but the guys are still just genetically going to be superior. It's just going to happen.
Yes.
And that's no knock at women by any means. That's just a genetic thing. It's going to happen.
You're a sexist pig.
Thank you. And we are not, we have not made any resolutions.
I don't know how this isn't an obvious thing though. Like I for real, like you can see at a very early age the difference,
Yeah.
You take the best player in the WNBA and put her on the court with LeBron James. It's not even close. Forget about the physical. I'm talking about the skill level. Is the best player in the WNBA, is she great? Does she have tons of skill? Absolutely. 100%. Not as much as most of the men in the NBA.
Right.
Why is that? Is because she didn't get the opportunity to play with men? Or is because there's just a difference? That is the real question.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. Who is the best player in the
here's
WNBA?
The thing. I don't know.
Is it Sue Bird? We'll say it's Sue Bird. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, okay, but what you just said is tricky though, because it's kind of both. Because the women would probably, because of the strength and things like that men would have advantage in, if they had the opportunity to just play with men all the way up, they may have more skill. They would have to have acquired to I get not stay relevant, but you know what I mean? Like they would have to have acquired more skills to stay in the loop with guys if they're playing with guys growing up the whole way, right?
Yeah, they might be more
Does that make any
skillful, but they're
sense?
still not going to be able to compete at an advanced age.
Right.
This is the other thing too. Just acknowledging that we're different is wrong now, which it's bizarre to me. Right?
Yeah.
And this is why I wish I was a comedian, because I would say, I think it's Joe Rogan that has that joke where he was like, men and women are different. We just are. He's like, I live with nothing but girls, but I could beat the fuck out of all of them.
Right.
Yeah. That might sound rude to some people, but holy shit, it's a fucking reality.
Yeah.
Why is it wrong to say that now? Not that you'll beat the shit out of a woman, but I'm saying, like, why is it wrong to say that, hey, we're different? Just men and women are different. There's just some things are different. I don't know.
Because of the equality thing. And didn't this all stem, like, okay, not all of this, not the whole transgender thing, but like the equality thing and unity and all that, like, didn't that stem probably from the basic thought of women make less money than men? Like, don't you think that's like at the base of a lot of that?
Yes, but never mind.
Is that did I just throw something at you that was too hard to navigate through to not sound like a sexist pig?
Well, again, it's when someone says, well, women don't make as much as men, what are we talking about? Are we talking about a woman who's in the same position as a man? Same position at a company? Or are you saying she makes less than a man?
And I know where you're going with this. I know the whole, like that whole, and that's why I said the thought of this, because I know that when you look at statistics on this, the majority of this is actually like men who are, digging in the mines versus, a woman who's sitting at a computer desk or something like that. Like the comparison isn't there, but they try to make a comparison there.
Yeah. There are tons of statistics around this. Like, do male CEOs make more than female CEOs? Yes. Do you know why? Because there aren't as many female CEOs. Is that a problem? Probably.
Yeah.
I don't have a solution. I wish I did. Hire more women, you fuckers, you corporate greedy shitheads. I'm not against. Jesus Christ, we need to end this episode. I'm not against a woman having any job at all, other than if you used to be a man and you want to punch other women in the face, then I have a problem with it. I've said my piece.
Okay.
That's really how I feel.
Okay.
Have you ever had a female boss?
Yeah.
Any job you've had?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What was that like for you?
I mean, I didn't look at it any differently, whether it was a male or a female.
It never crossed your mind that your boss was female, right?
Not really.
So I want to meet these people who really have an issue with that. And I want to kick them all in the balls, because I'm sure it's all men who have a problem with their boss being female. Maybe some women, but in which case they don't have balls and I'm not going to kick them. But yeah, why? You really never stopped and thought about, my boss is a woman. The dynamic of the workplace is different because my boss is a woman. And if you really haven't, I believe you, because I haven't either. But
I mean, I'm not going to say that I've never actually looked at it like,
forget about obvious shit.
No, but listen, would the dynamic be different if it was a male versus female? Yeah, it's probably going to be, because most of the time males run things a little differently than females do. That's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. Just saying.
I think how you said it is bad.
Why?
The dynamic of the job shouldn't change regardless of whether the boss is a woman or a man, right? Because at the end of the day, their agenda is the same. We have these goals to achieve. We have these things we need to get done.
Yes.
How they enforce them is up to them, but it shouldn't really depend on whether they're a man or a woman.
Okay, so when I said dynamic, I didn't mean the job itself. I meant
See,
like
this is
how
why
the
the conversation is tricky, because you know what?
Yeah.
What I just said, and I know you weren't going to respond this way, but I've actually had this argument, or I kind of got roped into an argument like this, where I said to someone, another guy, what I just said, and their response was, well, that's because women are more emotional. And then all the women in the room got fucking furious, and I was like, I'm done. I'm out of this one. I'm out. But that's how people respond to something like that.
I get it. Yeah. But yeah, I don't really like the whole emotional argument either, because I've seen men who've been in supervisor lead positions who have been just as emotional, if not more emotional, than a lot of women that I've seen too. So I don't like that argument either.
Were they just emotional? And I'm talking about the men. Were they just emotional people, or they just couldn't handle the role that they were in?
I've seen both.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I can see both sides of how, depending on how, no matter how you frame it, somebody's probably going to be offended by it. So to walk away from it's probably the smartest idea.
Yeah. I mean, in that situation, I was like, I got to get out of this. This is stupid. But
right.
But it's a. While I don't agree with it, I understand the argument. But that's the age-old tale about how women just are like, the reason that people say that is because like women aren't supposed to be the one. Like, it's like the 1950s mentality, right? Like
right.
the 1950s housewife mentality. That doesn't work anymore.
Right.
You know? That's why when you say like women are more emotional than men, it's like, really? Are they? We're all emotional in some sort of way.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I think people they associate the word emotional with just like to the like, I think what most becomes the people that use that argument, what comes to their mind is emotional means like you're soft, like you cry about everything, like you're emotional, like you just can't get over things, right?
Right.
What? There's a wealth of emotions you can feel at any given time. So like, emotional to me means you actually are a person. You have emotions about several things that happen throughout the day, and certain people evoke different emotions in you. And I don't know. It's a casual word, you know, emotional. It's like, it's a word we just casually throw around, but I feel like maybe we shouldn't. But I think it's too far gone now anyway, that it's just going to be that way, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. But it means more than what people intend it to mean, I guess, is my point.
Yeah.
But people get away with, can skate by on a lot of shit like that. So
it's true. Well, if we've learned anything in this episode, it's going to be that everybody's going to hate us, because no matter how we no matter how we look at things, people are going to be offended. But I feel like came at every topic from all the directions, while also telling what our feelings are. And that's about as good as we can do if we're going to talk about a topic that can be controversial.
Here are my feelings. Comedians need to be comedians. If you're ever a man, in 2021, you cannot punch a woman in the face. And people should not lose their livelihood over accusations. I think those are my feelings. Maybe I have more. I don't know.
I like it. I like it. So with that, let's get out of here.